All right, real quick. I just realized how much trouble I just saved myself. Look at this. Rear main seal is definitely leaking to some degree, or just started to. Okay. Now, this looks real easy right here, right? Let me tell you something. I couldn't get this thing off because there's a magnet holding it when you start unbolting this stuff. So I use this big heavy-duty harmonic balancer puller, and I probably should have used shorter bolts, but they were just bolts that were on the car because they were the same thread. So I went all the way to the end. I had to pull like crazy. Actually, I pulled my hamstring a little bit, but I basically pushed against the back of the crank here, and I actually got this out. So putting it in, obviously, it's just going to kind of like whoosh, fall into place, or I might just use this and let it, ease in. So, oh boy, that was something, because this thing totally gets magnetized to this. But that rear main seal, I am so glad I thought better of it and decided to take it apart, or at least see it. So basically, you take out the outside bolts here that you see. So once you have these outside bolts unbolted, on the outside edge here where I'm putting the tool, then you take out the inside ones, which are there, and that goes right to the flange of the crank there. And there's dowel pins here. You can't really mess it up, but once you loosen it, it's kind of like packing back and forth in this perfect circle, and it doesn't want to go. And obviously, you don't want to start putting like abrasion on the side of here, but it's in very good shape otherwise. But yeah, I use this as leverage to yank on it. And like I said, I would have put shorter bolts. I would have had more pull on my puller, but that was the way to go. It pulled it right out for the most part. I just ran out of threads and I had to really yank it. I kind of pulled my hamstring a little bit, but this was definitely the right move to do. This is a 2001 Honda Insight, and when you're doing the tranny, it's kind of stupid not to do the rear main seal, in my opinion. Transmissions last a long time. This one, in this case, is 180,000 miles, and truthfully, the seal doesn't last forever. You got to change them sooner or later. So I'm so glad I'm actually changing that, because that saves me a lot of, even if I had to pull out the tranny again for whatever reason, because I'm putting a used one in and whatnot, this was the right way to go for sure, because you don't want oil leaks. You really don't. You don't want your oil leak also getting on your electric motor to any degree, So very happy about this. So I'm glad I did it, and it really wasn't too much trouble. All right, so just one other thing. When you have the motor down this far, I put a hole in here and used a big-ass screwdriver to pry against this. It's a very thick seal, and it's very deep in the flange compared to the outside flange here, so you got to be careful. But this thing here started pouring oil. I don't necessarily see it coming out of the bottom here, so it's a little concerning. Hopefully there's a little, I think I saw something here that was like a, oh boy. All right, well, that's, inconvenience right now. I got to look into that, where that oil is actually going, but other than that, that's what you got to watch out for. I guess best to make sure it's jacked up when you do this, because now it's just too late for me. But if you look at this video, it may not be too late for you. Thanks for watching. One more video. In the grand scheme of things, it really wasn't that much oil, because once I popped off that seal, it pretty much didn't, nothing else dripped out. I put a bunch of brake cleaner there, and all this brake cleaner dripped out of everywhere. So if the oil was stuck anywhere, it would have broken down. It would have come out eventually, but the good news is that it's being changed, and that's it. I don't think the residual oil, it kind of does protect itself away. I think they pretty much figured that out, because this plastic shield, like there's a plastic shield on the outside, and when this piece is sandwiched in between, the two plastic things are really not going to get to it, and the inner part of this is so much wider. It's going to spread it past this side of the motor, and when it reaches a certain point, like I said, it's going to be where the plastic is, so it's just not going to be an issue. As far as the rear main seal, you got to figure that. But you know what? Having a bunch of oil that was splattering around all over the place doesn't help, and I'm sure this little motor likes all of its oil. So, again, that was just something I didn't look for, didn't expect to happen, but it did. And but it's a minimal amount of oil. It looked like a lot came out in one shot, and then it was really nothing after that, So what you saw was pretty much all that leaked out. And like I said, I'm very glad this is being done, and this definitely makes the job more complete.